I think if he can hit 325 with 50 homers, 120 RBIs, and steal 40 bases, that's where I think it's big. If he can get into the 40-40 club, and with these numbers, the 50-40 club, those 40 stolen bases would be the most of all time for a designated hitter. If you're hitting 50 homers, hitting 325, you'll have an OPS over 1,000 on the year. That's what I think wins him the MVP.
Fly ball onto the track, at the wall, it's gone! Home run!
Turns on a ball, deep right field, and gone!
What a game, what a moment. What is up, my friends? Happy Friday. What a week around the baseball world. A lot to talk about. One of those being Paul Skenes, finally getting the call up to the big leagues. Finally, we'll talk all about that. Also making a statement here, Willson Contreras fracturing his left forearm on a catcher's interference. A lot to talk about there. We have the Yankees and the Astros series. We have the Cincinnati Reds not playing great baseball right now. Also today on Friday, this week in Shohei Ohtani news, and this week in Shohei Ohtani news, there's a lot to talk about as well. Ippei pleading guilty. We're going to talk about what it would take for Shohei to possibly, or is it even possible, to win the MVP award this year, the week that he just had. A lot to talk about around the game of baseball. Alex, it's going to be a fun episode. What about, what have you been up to? Good week? Great.
Yeah, it's been an epic week in LA. The Dodgers have been on a tear, just completed a perfect homestand. Netflix is a Joke is in LA this week. So there's 400 plus comedy shows happening in LA this week. Did you know that?
No.
It all started with the Brady roast. Did you watch that?
I did not see it.
Insane.
You know
Absolutely
what did happen
hilarious.
though? Logged onto my Netflix, saw that I've been kicked off my parents' Netflix. So there's a purge happening with Netflix right now, and I'm not a fan, and I'm the latest victim.
This is hilarious because I have 3 little sisters. There's 4 of us, and each of us have like a different platform that we pay for, and then everybody is on everybody else's platform. Oh,
no, Netflix.
That's going to be it. We do the Netflix one, so we're doing fine. But
the purge is coming. It already happened.
Wait, that I love. What else are you on your parents' payroll still for?
Are
you on their phone bill still? Are you on?
No. I have pretty much every other platform, but I knew this was coming because this is everybody ever. I don't know how Netflix was doing this for so long, but
you can have 5 people on your account.
Not
It's
anymore.
what everybody does.
They made a big deal of it. I feel like a year ago, but then it started getting cracked down on, and it first started a couple weeks ago. My girlfriend Elizabeth got kicked off, and I was like, "Oh no, it's coming for me!"
No,
and then 2 nights ago, I logged onto my Netflix and was like,
"Shoot, okay,
oh boy,
I'm going to be fine."
Do
you want to know a really weird, funny Netflix story? In college, someone paid for my Netflix. It's the biggest mystery. No one has any idea what happened. Someone was paying for our Netflix for almost 10 years in Texas with a MasterCard. We don't know anybody in Texas or anybody with a Master. It's still the biggest mystery that we have no idea how this happened.
Creepy at all? Not even a little bit creeped out by that?
Would it be creepy?
I think it's a little creepy.
So should I be more creeped out than
Alex started this all happy about this. Turns out now she's...
cool, someone's paying for a Netflix. This is great. I have no idea. Oh.
Just a little creepy.
Okay, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Let's move on from that. Let me shake that one off right there. And let's talk about your boy, Paul Skenes, because he is finally going to be making his major league debut this weekend.
I do love me some Paul Skenes. This dude, it's about time. And we talked about it a few weeks ago. And I didn't know if he was ready a few weeks ago, not because of his stuff. His stuff is big league ready for sure. He's going to be one of the most dominant pitchers in baseball. I just didn't feel like the Pirates were building him up fast enough.
Yeah, stretched out long
And it just
enough.
felt like, look, this guy's, you only got so many bullets in your right arm. Is it going to be, how long are you going to be able to pitch? And I'm not talking like Tommy John surgery. I just mean in your career.
Yeah.
You're only going to be able to pitch for so long. So this guy's throwing 102 miles an hour. Why don't we allow him to develop a little more and maybe build up his arm in the big leagues? So let him get to the 5 innings mark in the minors. Let him be able to pitch through 5 and then recover and do it again and then call him up. But he had nothing left to prove. Nothing left to prove in the minor leagues. He is averaging 99.9 miles an hour on his fastball. That is the fastest in all of baseball. minor leagues, major leagues, whatever you want. Fastest for a starting pitcher in all of baseball. He punched out the world in the minor leagues. He had an ERA of 0.99, an ERA on the year under 1. Again, there was nothing left to prove. It was a matter of when, not if this call up was coming.
I love this so much, by the way, too, how they found out. If you don't know, his girlfriend is like one of the most badass college gymnasts, highest paid NIL athletes out there. And she posted this video saying both wake up from a nap to find out he's in Major League Baseball. So that was like a fun, cute, love it. Like wake up from a nap, like, oh, it's happening, getting called up. This is incredible.
That's a good way to wake up from a nap.
Power athlete couple.
Yeah, I mean, she's a stud.
She
and I think
the highest paid non-having a celebrity dad NIL athlete. I think she's number 3 on the list behind like Bronny James and Shedeur Sanders. And then,
I mean, LSU gymnast.
She's insane.
They just won a national championship.
Yeah.
She's
a baddie.
She became super, super popular on TikTok.
Yeah.
Millions and millions and millions of followers. Has become like a superstar in her own right in that. And now for them to be together and
I love this.
It's great.
Honestly. Love it. It's all great.
Great for baseball. Guys started 7 games in the minor leagues, though. If we're talking just baseball, started 7 games in the minor leagues this year. Pitched 27 1/3 innings, struck out 45 guys in those 27 1/3.
So question, though, because your biggest thing is like bring him up, but make sure that he's ready and he's stretched out. Do you think he actually got stretched out enough?
I don't think we should expect him to throw 6 innings in his debut. Right. I think we're going to see maybe 4 or 5 innings out of him is my guess. Maybe 5, depending on what his pitch count's like. But I don't think he's as stretched out as they would like him to be.
Yeah.
But my thing eventually became, okay, allow him to get to a certain place and then build him up in the big league. You can't have a starter throwing 3 or 4 innings and then rely on your bullpen. That can't be the case at a big league level. But get him to 5 innings. He has nothing left to prove in the minors. Again, he averages 100 miles an hour on his fastball. He has a sinker, like a splitter sinker that's like 94 miles an hour. He's got a nasty slider. He's unbelievable. He's going to be a superstar. And him and Jared Jones in that Pirates rotation, I mean, that could be, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but we could not be far from Paul Skenes and Jared Jones being the best 1-2 punch in baseball.
Get ahead of yourself.
They're nasty.
Call it.
They're nasty. They're unbelievable. They're a lot of fun. I'm excited to watch him pitch. That happens tomorrow. Saturday. The debut of Paul Skenes against the Chicago Cubs. Tune in. Must-see TV. We were talking a couple weeks ago about the biggest debuts, and Strasburg was on that list, and Bryce Harper and Mark Pryor. Paul Skenes is going to be up there. This is a very hyped debut.
The where were you moment when you were watching the debut?
Rightfully so. And I hope in Pittsburgh, I hope they black it out again. You remember the blackout game in Pittsburgh? I hope they do that again. I just hope people show up.
Yeah.
I hope people go watch Paul Skenes in his debut, because we're going to remember the debut forever. Steven Strasburg's debut was against the Pirates. We all remember that. This one is Paul Skenes and against the Cubbies.
Ben's going to remember it forever.
I'll remember
in his
it
heart.
forever.
Okay, let's get to making a statement. This first one, this was tough. This was really tough to watch. The Cardinals are at fault for Contreras' injury. This is brutal.
This is agonizing to even talk about, to think about. I'm sure we have the video we can play on the wall. But for those that are unsure of what we're talking about, with JD Martinez at the plate the other night, Willson Contreras behind the dish for the Cardinals, JD takes a swing, and on the swing, the forward swing, the bat hits him in the like upper wrist forearm area, fracturing his forearm.
You see it like
on
snap.
The forward swing. And this is something that I have never, ever seen in my life. I'm not entirely sure that this has ever happened, to be honest. You've seen a million catcher's interference. Bat ticks the glove or hits the glove, and you've seen backswing come around and hit the catcher in the helmet, hit him somewhere, but it's not near as painful as on the forward swing. So this happens. We find out there's a fractured forearm, and then what we start hearing is there's a report that comes out that says the Cardinals have been working with Willson Contreras on helping him get that low pitch called a strike by moving him up closer to the plate and closer to the batter. So that comes out, then you start thinking, well, this is ridiculous. Why is he so close? There was a follow-up. Derek Gold, who's also a beat writer for the Cardinals and has also been on this show, clarified with me that they started working on that with him in spring training of last year, when the original report was they've just started. So there's a little bit of confusion there, but it doesn't really matter to me. I am tired of analytics says this should be the case, right? Scoot up, scoot up, scoot up. Well, there is a risk involved, and this is that risk. So there's always going to be better ways to circumvent the system or to get a better call or to do this or to do that. But to not even think about the health risk involved, and I'm not saying the Cardinals organization wanted him to get hurt or wanted to put him in harm's way. I do believe this is a bit on Willson Contreras as well. As a catcher, you have an instinct. You have an instinct of where you are. What maybe he didn't have is maybe he wasn't thinking at the time that JD Martinez is known to stand as far back as humanly possible in the box. I'm talking the top left edge of your big toenail is clipping that box. Yeah. That's where he stands. So I don't know. I don't want to put all the blame here on the Cardinals organization. I do know that this wouldn't have happened had they not wanted him to move up in the box just to get the lower pitches called strikes. I think maybe it just slipped his mind for a minute that JD was up and he was a bit too close. I do think the Cardinals moving him up, there's danger there. And this is the result. This is what you get. It's frustrating to see. I've never seen it before. I'm disappointed that this happened. And it just feels like in an age of analytics, you're just constantly trying to get as close as you possibly can. And this is where you just have to step back and realize maybe it's unnecessary. Maybe we shouldn't be risking this for maybe one out of 10 more called strikes. It's just frustrating. It's frustrating to see. So yeah, I guess I would blame Cardinals organization a little bit and for moving him up when it's something he's not comfortable with. And I would say as a catcher, you just kind of have a bit of feel of where you are, and maybe he just lost that feel for a better.
I mean, it's really unfortunate. Obviously, the Cards are having a tough time. They're last in the NL Central right now, but this is a guy that not only helps control your pitching staff, but he's been a consistent bat in your lineup. And now you don't have him for 6 to 8 weeks. You have to imagine when you have an injury like this too, there's some sort of a fear. I know. I just looked at the close-up of the arm wiggling, getting hit. Like, that's now going to be a fear.
Yeah.
And that's your every single day. That is your job. Every single moment, every single pitch. And it's
just that whole organization has been frustrating. I mean, and Willson Contreras, the offense had started to come around. That's what gets frustrating, is the offense had started to come around, especially Contreras. Nolan Arenado's starting to play better, but Contreras has been your most effective player. And he's, behind the plate, the toughest position to play in baseball. He's the captain of the field. He's in charge of everything happening out in front of him. He's heating up at the plate. He's one of the best offensive catchers in baseball. And then you have this happen, and it just feels like the cherry on top to what has been an absolute nightmare for the Cardinals for a while now. Last year should have been a slap in the face, and it just felt like their answer was to go out and make their starting rotation, like seemingly the starting rotation from my grandpa's old folks home. They're so old. That was the answer. No offense, but I mean, and offensively, it didn't work last year. You're just expecting it to work this year. And now, because of this situation, no matter who's at fault or if he was told to do this or not, your most productive offensive player goes down. It's already been a tough year.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Cardinals are going to have to be sellers at the trade deadline, if I'm being honest. I mean, you get Sonny Gray, who's the ace of the staff and been throwing really well. And now you just think, can we really make the playoffs? And we're probably looking at the Cardinals being sellers and missing the playoffs for 2 years in a row, which is something they haven't done in a long time.
Yeah, it's just been brutal since they lost their big names, their big guys.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our next statement. I did it again.
Oh, God.
The Yankees own the Astros.
Yeah, I mean, there's a conversation since 2019, and this is not including Thursday. So since 2019, the Astros are 13-20 against the New York Yankees. So I am going to say, Alex, I'm going to say yes. The Yankees own the Astros just like the Braves own the Phillies. Just like the Dodgers own the playoffs.
Stop.
Just
So you're
like
going
the
regular
Generals
season.
own the Harlem Globetrotters.
The Yankees have won 9 straight against the Astros.
The Yankees do
How
not
are you
own the Astros.
Yes, they do.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, they do.
It's about winning when it matters. The Yankees are 2-8 against the Houston Astros in the last 5 years in October. I don't give two shits what they do in the regular season. I could care less. If the Astros make the playoffs this year, they'll beat the Yankees in the playoffs. If they don't, the Yankees have a chance. That's the way it's been for the last 7 years. To say that the Yankees own the Astros is an absolute joke. If you were to ask a Yankees fan, hey, do you own the Houston Astros? They would say absolutely not. They own us. They own us in October. And maybe I think this is the year. The Astros suck this year. We're doing great. This is the year we take it back from the Astros. But are you kidding me to even remotely have a conversation saying the Yankees own the Astros? That is an absolute joke. You kidding me? No. Yeah.
The Yankees have won 9 straight against the Astros dating back to last season. They are 6-0 this season. The Yankees have outscored the Astros 40-18. The Astros are last place. Let me just remind you, in case you forgot, and you keep telling everybody to be patient. I don't know how you can be patient at this point. They are in last place in the AL West, behind the A's, behind the Angels. On Wednesday night, it was the 21st time this season that the Astros allowed at least 5 runs. Only 2 other teams have done that this season. You want to know who they are? Not good company, let me tell you that. The White Sox 22 times and the Rockies 24 times. Are those the teams you want to be in the same conversation with when you say, this is not an issue, I should not be worried? No, it's not, because the Astros that you're talking about are not the Astros of this season. And this season and whatever the 9 games that they have played each other.
Are you answering whether you're worried about the Astros or are we last I checked, the conversation was the Yankees own the Astros.
They
and
do.
No offense, I don't care about any number you just threw at me. I could care less about every single number you just threw
How
out.
bad does it have to get for you to get worried about
That's a
the
different
Astros?
Conversation, Alex.
So then I'm asking you right now, how bad does it have to get? Because you said, like, we've been talking, we've had this conversation probably 3 times now, just in the first month of the season. And you said All-Star break. We'll wait till the All-Star break. Okay. So worry meter, where are you at with the Astros?
1 to 10, I'm a 4.
What? How?
The first time we had this conversation,
How?
I said if they're 10 games back at the All-Star break, I'll be worried. Because it's May 10th.
Did you not hear any of the numbers I just told you?
To be completely honest, no. Because I told you I didn't care about them.
Oh my. How do you not care?
Alex,
you're
listen.
arguing that they're going to be fine when they are last.
That wasn't the conversation
in
we
the
were just
West.
having. The conversation and the question you asked me was, do the Yankees own the Astros? And I feel offended that a human being could even ask that question to me. That's
now they do.
I don't care
They've
about
won
this.
9 straight against the Astros. They have outscored the Astros 40-18. This is dating back to last season.
It's the regular season. When is the last time the New York Yankees were in the World Series?
We're talking about right now.
Who?
Right now, the Yankees own the Astros.
Okay, do the Yankees own the Astros over the last 3 games? Sure.
This season?
But
dating back to last season?
So then what's the question? Like, do the...
What are you saying? Like, do they own them over the last, 5 years? I'm saying, do the Yankees own the Astros?
And that
right now they
answer
do.
is easily no.
Right now they do.
Who? What? You're asking about a regular season?
We didn't give a time frame. I'm saying right now, yeah. The Yankees own the Astros.
That's a ridiculous thing to say.
How?
Because the postseason is the only thing that matters. That's it. And over the last 5 years, the Astros have dominated the Yankees. In fact, dare I say, the Astros own the Yankees. Jose Altuve is the Yankees' daddy. The Houston Astros own the Yankees. And until that changes in October, I have nothing left to talk about. Nothing.
The Yankees own the Astros. we'll agree to disagree here. Let's move on.
I ain't agreeing to shit.
Yep.
Astros own the Yankees.
Our final statement. Ben, the Reds are in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in trouble. Lost 8 straight. Thursday was their 8th straight loss, so They're still on quite the losing streak. It's the offense that has just been abysmal and what worries me. In all of baseball, they rank 30th. There's 30 teams, so they rank 30th.
Yeah, that's last.
Dead last. DFL, Alex. We just did this. DFL. Okay, moving on. They're 26th in OPS, 26 out of 30. Currently lost 8 straight. Christian Encarnacion Strand was playing through an injury, and they end up getting it double checked. And next thing you know, he's going to miss a bunch of time with his injury. And the offense is abysmal. That rotation that I believed would be the best in the NL Central has been fine, but they're not the best in the Central right now. That belongs to the Cincinnati or the Chicago Cubs. So there's just worry, and this is you can't make the playoffs in May, but you can put yourself in a position that makes it very difficult. And losing 8 straight games is a position that they're now in a position. And again, it's May 10th. They're not that far out of it, but they're just not playing well. And the rest of the division, the Cubs playing good baseball.
Brewers playing good baseball.
So they're putting themselves in a pickle. I am worried about how bad the offense has been. I was watching a game Wednesday night, and they were losing 3-2. And they ended up losing the game, and their announcers themselves were like, no matter what happens, this is progress because we've scored a couple of runs. And I'm like, oh, is that bad? Okay.
Okay, so then, because our first statement, we were talking about the Cardinals, obviously really unfortunate situation they're in, and you said they're most likely going to be sellers at the deadline, right? Well, Reds are only a half a game above the Cardinals right now in the NL Central. So obviously I don't see them being sellers because this is a young up-and-coming team. What do you do in this situation? Do you try to buy to get better, to push forward because you're only 5.5 games back? Like what do you do at this point? Well, just hope it turns around because you have such young talent?
Yeah, that you nailed. That's the big difference with the Reds and Cardinals is the Cardinals are an older team that have a bunch of old vet pieces that can help out a playoff team. The Reds are on the cusp of being a playoff team for a long time to come. So whether this is the year or not, you're very hopeful it is. You hope it turns around. If they're in a position around, let's say, the trade deadline where they're like outside looking in at the playoffs, I don't think you're super aggressive in terms of adding a loaner. And what I mean by a loaner is like a guy that's in a contract year or free agent coming up, and you trade away prospects just to get him for the remainder of the year. Yeah. Maybe you make some moves that for a guy that has a couple years of time available. But I think it limits how aggressive and where you can be aggressive come the trade deadline. I think this team is good. I think they're very young. I think they've been burdened by a lot of injuries to start the year, which really has been difficult for them. Matt McClain not playing, TJ Friedl just came back. And then the Noelvi Marte suspension. They've dealt with a lot at the beginning of this season, and it's been really, really tough on their offense. So the Reds are in trouble. I think they can, it's early and they're not, they're one week away from being 2 games out of first place, like one winning streak away from being right there. So is it the end of the world? No, but there is worry there. I do worry about how bad that offense has been.
Brutal, but hope because they're young and they have so many exciting players. But that wraps up making a statement, which means we got a lot to talk about for Shohei Ohtani. Good,
in my
bad,
favorite segment this week in Shohei Ohtani news, we're going to talk all about him, the week he had, how possible it is, or is it possible for him to win an MVP award this year as a DH, and the new news about Ippei, his former translator, that has come out and created quite the stir in the media. So, Alex, let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Ippei Mizuhara news, and it came out a couple of days ago that Ippei has pled guilty to bank and tax fraud and everything that this entire investigation that we all talked about dove into, Ippei pled guilty and is now facing up to just over 30, I believe 33 years in jail. So, a lot to talk about here. The first of that being, that is, again, this situation sucks. It is sad. He is now facing 30 years in jail. But, you know, when I step back and look at this situation, I think of a few things. One, how this situation was handled by Shohei and his team being one of them. Okay. I look back to fairly early on when he went public in front of the camera and was more candid than I thought most people thought he would be at his presser and came forward and spoke publicly. I thought I was impressed by that, and I've been impressed with how it's been handled ever since. This was handled so quickly in the grand scheme of things. Really unheard of how quickly it all came together, how quickly the investigation was launched, how quickly it came to a resolution. And next thing you know, Ippei is pleading guilty to all of it. And I just think, luckily, Shohei was surrounded by a great team very quickly and able to come to this resolution. But I do want to say one thing to, you know, the response, I don't know if response is the word, but the narrative out there when this all came about. There's really two sides, as there is to everything, right? And half or more than half are saying, this is an awful situation. I feel heartbroken for Shohei. This just sucks. And then there's the people that run with a narrative of, oh, Ippei's a fall guy. Oh my God. Here's what I would say to that. And I hope this finally puts a little bow on it all. There is not a dollar amount in the entire world for some fall guy to face 30 years in prison. This is a bit of a different story if we're talking, yeah, he's going to jail for 30 days, or there was a plea deal involved and he's not going to jail. He's facing up to 33 years in jail. To think that there was some fall guy involved here is absolutely ridiculous. Again, I'm glad this is seemingly coming more and more to an end and more to a resolution after Ippei does plead guilty. And I'm just thankful that one, Shohei is raking and the Dodgers are playing well. And two, that this is seemingly quickly. We're talking like a month, just under a month and a half ago, this all came about. For it to be done and ending this quickly just speaks volumes to the team he had put around him and to his entire team. Yeah.
How do you pay someone back $16 million, especially if you're in jail possibly for 33 years? I mean, the whole situation is just like absolutely horrible because like I don't think you're going to get that kind of money back. And you lost a best friend and you got completely screwed over by someone that you thought was family. And it's just, again, it's heartbreaking. The whole situation, like as shitty as it is for Ohtani, obviously, Ippei, to be with someone that close every single day and to be able to do something like that is mentally insane. Like when you think about it,
yeah.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So it does. It's weird. It is weird to have like spent a good bit of time around him and both of them, and
spent a lot of years around both of them.
It's an eye-opening thing. I hope for everyone to, you know, like to think that this could happen is scary.
Someone that's next to you and with you all day, every single day. You think you know someone,
and that's how he was able to do it because he just weaseled his way. That's the
heartbreaking. That's the heartbreaking part of it.
Where you know he was the liaison, the middleman between his agent talking to Shohei. Everything went through Ippei.
Everything.
And what resulted was unfortunately him lying to absolutely everyone and Shohei's life and his life and everyone's life. So just to put a little bow on it, Ippei has pled guilty, is facing up to 33 years in jail. And luckily, this is all coming to a close. And Shohei had a great team around him, and they reacted quickly to this. And here we are.
The other craziest thing about this, to kind of transition out, is with all of this going on and how crazy this whole scandal has been, Ohtani is one of the hottest players in baseball right now. And just this past week, he gifted his manager, Dave Roberts, a toy Porsche because he officially passed him as the Dodgers' all-time home run leader for a Japanese player.
Yeah, this is great. So we have been talking
cute.
for a couple weeks. He's getting closer and closer to the all-time Dodgers Japanese-born home run record, which was owned by Dave Roberts, his manager, who with 7.
Yeah.
Shohei passed that. And the toy Porsche was funny because he obviously gifted Joe Kelly and his wife a new Porsche
for giving him the number.
Giving him his number, 17. So for passing Dave Roberts, he also gave him a Porsche. And if you're watching, you can see the picture of it in the wall. It is a little toy miniature Porsche, which is great. So loved that. Loved the week Shohei had. Just mashed. 467, 4 homers, 8 RBIs, a 1.625 OPS, raising his season stats. On the year, he's hitting 355 with 11 homers, 27 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, a 1.103 OPS. Just remarkable. The season that he's having is remarkable. What Clayton Kershaw, all-time great in the dugout the other day, was talking about him and said, I don't remember him even being this good in Anaheim. I don't remember him ever being on this kind of tear. This is unbelievable. Every ball that he hits, he's just so strong. I don't get it. I don't think anybody does. He's just amazing. And that's a future Hall of Famer, a guy that's been around the game for a long, long time, that has seen a lot of really good baseball in his life. And even he is in absolute awe of what Shohei Ohtani is doing on a baseball field.
Well, you have to remember, Shohei Ohtani is one of the most dedicated, focused players we have ever seen. He is a 2-time unanimous MVP, 2-way player, something we had never seen before. So now he's not only still recovering from getting his non-Tommy John surgery to get back on the mound, but he is solely focused on hitting right now. And we knew something special was going to happen this season when all of that focus, all of that great energy was just going to be honed in on him at the plate. Okay. But Ben, a sole DH has never won an MVP. So what would it take for Ohtani to win NL MVP this year just as a DH?
Well, a DH has never won MVP, like you said. That has never happened. There have been 2 DHs that have finished second in the MVP voting, Paul Molitor and David Ortiz. Now, there has been, again, no DH to ever win MVP, but there has never in the history of baseball been an MVP or been a designated hitter like Shohei Ohtani. And what do I mean by that? I don't just mean like there's never been a player like Shohei. Though true, it's not exactly what I'm saying. One, it's interesting that Shohei, the reason he's just DHing is because of what you just said. He's a 2-way player. He's injured. He's not pitching this year. He just got Tommy John. He just got elbow surgery, so he can't throw. I do think that matters. Part 1, I think that matters. Part 2, he is Shohei Ohtani, and I do think that matters. I think it matters, and this could be off base, but I think it matters that he is the biggest superstar that baseball has.
Okay.
That he...
Like it could help him?
I think it helps him.
Okay.
That he's the biggest superstar the game has, that he brings what he does to the baseball world, that he just had the offseason that he did where he just became the highest paid player in North American sports history. That he's the greatest player that we've ever seen. I think all of that helps him because you look down at the ballot and you see a guy like Shohei Ohtani and it's like, whoa, that name means something. Not that Mookie Betts doesn't. Not that Ronald Acuna Jr. doesn't. But you look down and you see Shohei Ohtani. It's like, man, I'm able to check the box right now on what could possibly be the greatest player that has ever played the game of baseball. That's part 2. Part 3 being he might steal 40 bags this year.
Whew.
And that is something that is very rare out of a designated hitter role. The record, if you will, for a DH. And I'm going back and thinking if they if they were at the designated hitter position for over 100 games in the year. Shohei's going to be 162 or however many games he ends up playing this year. He ain't going to play a game other than in the DH role, unless he plays a game or two in the outfield at the end of the year, which I don't think is going to happen. But these other guys are, Paul Molitor played over 100 games in a DH role one year. So I'll say we'll say that he DH'd. He stole, the record is 31 stolen bases. Okay? So in this year, the year he came in second, 1993, he hit 332, hit 22 home runs, 111 RBIs, stole 22 bases, had a 5.6 WAR. The all-time record for a full-time DH, if you will, is 31 stolen bases. I think Shohei is going to break that. I think Shohei is going to break the record for most stolen bases for a DH ever. That's not something you normally see, right? Yeah. A designated hitter isn't typically going to steal you a bunch of bases. They're the big poppies of the world. They're the JD Martinez's of the world. When he had a year with the Tigers where he was predominantly DH, that he was unbelievable. They're the Jordans of the world, the Edgar Martinez's of the world, guys that aren't stealing you 10 bags. Shohei might steal you 40. So I look at that year with Paul Molitor. There was a year with David Ortiz, the year that he came in second, that he put up some numbers that you would argue were good enough. 300 average, 47 homers, 148 RBI, and a 5.2 WAR. So the last two guys I mentioned, David Ortiz and Paul Molitor, couple things in common there. One, they came in second in the MVP voting. Two, both of them had a WAR in the fives. And if you might be confused exactly about WAR, join the club. But essentially, there's a lot of different things that go into it that, position being one of them, being a designated hitter hurts your WAR. You start at a disadvantage. So 5.2, 5.6 in that WAR range is what got them second in the MVP voting. Shohei Ohtani is on pace for a WAR over 10 out of the DH role. There's only been a few 10-plus WAR seasons in history. Yeah. And Shohei's had a couple of them. He's on pace this year for solely a DH. He's had a 10-plus WAR season before because he's a pitcher and a hitter. As solely a DH, currently on pace for over a 10 WAR. So I do think the conversation is one to have. And I'm glad we are having it. I think there is a possibility for him to win the MVP award. But what gets interesting to me with this year is let's look at the two front runners.
Okay.
One being Shohei.
Yeah.
One Mookie Betts. So
yep.
The interesting thing to me is you have one of those guys playing shortstop, a premier position on the field where WAR is helped when you're playing shortstop. The other playing DH. So they're on opposite ends of the spectrum. You're going to vote for if let's say they're neck and neck, the shortstop's getting that vote because he's playing shortstop. But then let's add in the fact that, and again, Mookie's having as of right now, if the season ended today, and these are the numbers he put up, are on pace, one of the greatest seasons of all time. But let's just say Mookie ends up playing just an average MLB shortstop, maybe average to slightly below average in that range. And then you have Shohei being a DH, but not a DH like we've ever seen before. Yeah. So I do think that narrows the field just a little bit. We're not talking an elite shortstop or even a really good defending shortstop. We're talking an average MLB defensive shortstop, which, by the way, we're going to give points where points are due. The guy was a right fielder. The guy was played second base. He's now on his own saying, I will help the team and go play the premier position of shortstop.
Such a stud.
Insane.
Such a stud.
Then you have Shohei. He could steal 40 bags this year. No DH has ever won it. I think this is the year where it absolutely could happen. But it's going to take a lot, Alex.
It's going to take, I think for me, if he wins a Triple Crown, that could be a really big boost in Ohtani's direction. Now, he currently leads the league in batting average. He's first. He's tied for second in home runs at 11th. He's 13th in RBI. And as you said, he could potentially steal, what'd you say, 40 bags, you thought? He's currently 10th with 9. Yeah. So if Ohtani wins the Triple Crown, I think that would be the biggest help for him to be that one step over Mookie Betts, who's actually, as you said, playing the elite position on the field as well.
Yeah, I put together some numbers of where I think my prediction of where he could win MVP. But he is on pace. If we could put that stat back up in the wall for a second. Again, I mentioned 5.2 WAR and I think 5.6 for the two MVPs that came in second. Shohei's on pace for an 11.7 WAR currently. That's what he's on pace for. Okay. So if he's going to do that, I don't see how you can't give him the MVP award. My prediction for statistics.
Yeah.
I think if he can hit 325 with 50 homers, 120 RBIs, and steal 40 bases, that's where I think it's big. If he can get into the 40-40 club, and with these numbers, the 50-40 club, those 40 stolen bases would be the most of all time for a designated hitter. If you're hitting 50 homers, hitting 325, you'll have an OPS over 1,000 on the year. That's what I think wins him the MVP.
Okay.
40-40, breaking an all-time record. I think he absolutely can win the MVP at that pace.
Yeah. That's close.
We'll see.
I say Triple Crown. You say 40-40?
Yeah, I think he goes 50. I think he can get 50-40.
Oh, okay.
50 homers, 40 stolen bases, obviously entering the 40-40 club. We saw Acuna do that with the 80 stolen bases last year. So
at Dodger Stadium, they gave him the base.
Was that at Dodger Stadium?
They signed a base. I remember it was a big moment at Dodger Stadium. They gave him the base.
I think it was a milestone home run for him that he did at Dodger Stadium. Because I think it was a grand slam, and he had just had a kid. He had just gotten married.
Yeah, I think it was
literally the night before got married.
Right? We'll figure it out, but I think it was.
I don't know.
All right. Well, before we wrap up this week in Shohei Ohtani news, we've got some more news, but in the entertainment side of the world for Shohei Ohtani, because it was announced by Lionsgate that they're in early stages of an Ohtani-Ippei gambling scandal TV series.
Of course
This is as Hollywood as you can get. He arrives in LA playing for the Dodgers. This happened right after their first game of the season, and there's already a TV show in the works about it.
I'm glad that they felt the need to mention the early stages. I'd be a bit concerned if
how long have you known about this?
They're deep in it. It's almost done. It's like, wait a second. How long have you known?
Yeah,
of course they're in the early stages. Of course this is happening. There is absolutely going to be something, whether this comes to fruition or not.
It would be huge.
There is going to be something that comes out. It's one of the from what I read about it, they were phrasing it around this being the biggest gambling story in baseball since Pete Rose. So obviously there's going to be a story that comes out about it, and we'll see. We'll see if it ends up coming to fruition.
Do you think he needs approval to be able to make this happen?
I have no idea.
Like, there's so much going on for Ohtani this year. It's like, hey, now we're going to make a TV show about you. That's crazy. Now, okay, we do obviously a lot of content around Ohtani. So who knows? Maybe we would be in it. If we were in it, who would play you in this series?
This is a good question.
Yeah.
Who would play me? I'll go with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Also, maybe a little young Jim Carrey if he can travel back in time many years. You would see it. Look at an old school photo of Jim Carrey. You'd see it.
I mean, Jim Carrey was one of my faves back in the day. Ace Ventura?
Right.
Are you doing Ace Ventura?
Ace Ventura.
Yeah, this is a very Ace Ventura look.
Ace Ventura might be my Halloween costume.
Ooh, that's a good one. I love Ace Ventura.
Okay. What about you? Who's playing you?
I get Mila Kunis a lot, maybe.
Okay.
I like that she has a good sense of humor and she's weird. I like a good, cool, weird
good
person.
Sense of humor. That makes one of you.
Right? Meg and Family Guy, Ted, that 70s show. I feel like those are all vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Man.
So a lot happening in the world of Shohei this week. And that is why we have this segment, which if you haven't heard is my favorite segment. this week in Shohei Ohtani news.
All right, we're going to wrap up today's show. Some flippin' shout outs. We're bringing it back. Now, if you're new to this segment, we're going to give a shout out to either a player or a team that should be getting a little more attention than they're getting. So, Ben, who is your flippin' shout out this week?
My flippin' shout out is Mason Miller, the most dominant pitcher in the game of baseball. Let me talk about him for just a second.
Okay.
In 16 1/3 innings pitched this year, 33 strikeouts. 33 strikeouts. The guy throws 104 miles an hour. And let me, for just 1 second, talk about an advanced statistic. FIP. F-I-P. Now, that stands for Fielding Independent Pitching. Like ERA, FIP, the lower number, the better. Okay? Mason Miller broke this advanced analytic and puts everybody into a frenzy because his FIP is negative 0.07. He has a negative FIP. Nobody really knew that was possible. It is unheard of. He is breaking the advanced analytics. So basically what it means, it is difficult to understand, but fielding independent pitching is how you'd be taking the defense out of it, taking your defensive players out of the equation. So home runs, strikeouts, that sort of stuff, how dominant a pitcher is. And basically this is as dominant as you could possibly be. Basically, if we're really getting down to it, a negative 0.07 FIP is saying if he pitched 9 innings and the team didn't score a run, that they would still win, which obviously isn't possible. Mason Miller just making things up out there. Throwing 104, negative FIP, absolutely ridiculous. 33 strikeouts in 16 1/3 innings pitched, 8 saves in like 13 outings. No words for this guy. No words. Besides, this was funny.
Yeah, you have words? Go. Words.
You've seen all these closer entrances around the league, right? Edwin Diaz, the trumpets, Yohan Duran with the lights go down, the fans put up their flashlights, his music comes on. These closer entrances, I love them. I am a sucker for them. If I were to go to a game, I would stick around until the very last inning because I would want to see this. Mason Miller has become the most dominant closer in the game of baseball. And he was asked the other day, like, hey, and he was a starter turned closer. So he's like in this transition phase. And he was asked, hey, again, he plays for the Oakland A's. Hey, what do you want to do for your closer entrance? And he's like, yeah, I was talking to our department the other day about things, and I asked them about the lights and what we could do there, and they said, well, if the lights go out, they might not turn back on. So I don't.
Wait, that is actually hilarious.
One, true.
That's very
2, hysterical. Mason Miller, stud. Love the guy. What about you? What do you got?
My flippin' spotlight this week is Dodgers outfielder Teoscar Hernandez. Now, when you're on a team with Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, even Max Muncy once he starts getting hot, it's hard to be in the spotlight. But Teoscar Hernandez deserves the spotlight this week. This past week, he hit 4 home runs, 7 RBI, a .333 batting average, 1.296 OPS, and just on Wednesday, he drove in all 3 of the Dodgers' runs to complete their perfect homestand. Now, he's looking good this season, too, as a whole. He's got 10 home runs this season. He's just tied for 5th, one less than Shohei Ohtani, a team-high 29 RBI. He's on pace to have a 42 home run, 120 RBI season. It has just been a great change of scenery, I think, for Hernandez to be here in LA. And when you're surrounded by greatness, it makes you even better. And I think we're kind of seeing that with him in this Dodgers lineup. And congratulations on an epic week.
You know, he specifically said that right before the season started. Teoscar Hernandez came on the show. If you haven't listened to his interview,
he's great.
Go do it. It was honestly incredible. And one thing he said that stood out to me, and today hearing you talk about it even more so makes me think, everywhere he's been, it hasn't been a veteran team. It's been like, man, these young rookies could be something. Whether he was in, Toronto or Houston before Houston became what they have. In Toronto with Vladdy and Bo Bichette, it's these young guys are going to carry us. And then to Seattle, this young guy, Julio Rodriguez. And he was so thrilled to finally be on a team where you walk in the door and you're hit in the face with most valuable players everywhere you look.
Yeah.
And he was so excited to be in a lineup where it wasn't like these young, unproven guys are supposed to help carry us. No, this lineup is full of these proven guys are going to contend for an MVP, and we're going to contend for a World Series, and we know that's going to be the case. And he was just so thrilled and excited to flourish in a lineup like that. And he certainly is. So again, if you haven't checked that episode out, go back and listen to it. It's a month to 2 months ago, somewhere in there. But
I mean,
really
he did
good.
say this week too, I think I'm doing this well because of all the people that we have here.
Yep.
And you can see it even out of the gates, like just his personality. We saw it a lot on social media with Ohtani and all the other players. You can tell that he enjoys being there. He's having a good time. And it's really not only showing off the field, but now at the plate as well. So
Yep. That does it.
Good work.
Good Friday episode. Tomorrow,
Good work.
Saturday with Smoltz. Make sure you check that out. Every single Saturday, the Hall of Famer joins me, and it is always a fun conversation. Talking current things around the league, old stories, which is always a lot of fun to talk about. We just had Adam Wainwright on Wednesday, who was, again, I know I'm plugging a lot of different stuff, but Adam Wainwright was
Listen to
just
all
on
of
the
it,
last
'cause
episode.
it's great.
Was great, hysterical, talked a lot about pranking, and that is what John Smoltz brought up about Adam Wainwright, has talked about an old prank of his, so that all ties together. So go listen to Adam Wainwright, go listen to Teoscar Hernandez, listen to John Smoltz tomorrow. Thank you for listening today. Make sure you subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple or Spotify. Also, you can watch everything. Spotify, you can watch on the Flippin' Bats YouTube page, and follow us on TikTok. We are getting closer and closer to 100,000 followers, and we put some really cool stuff out there. So for this Friday episode, that does it. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Saturday with Smoltz on Saturday. New episode coming out on Monday. Thank you all for listening, and remember, until next time, find your bat and flip it. Peace.